Welcome again to Math 800 Pre-Algebra. Today we are doing Section 7.5, Consumer Applications, Sales Tax, Tips, Discounts, and Simple Interest. Our objectives: 1. To find sales tax and total cost. 2. To estimate and calculate restaurant tips. 3. To find the discount and sale price. 4. To calculate simple interest and the total amount due on a loan. Finding sales tax and total cost. We will be using a version of the percent equation. Percent, in this case, will be our tax rate. The whole is the original cost of the item, and the part is the amount you actually pay in sales tax. Then, to actually figure out how much you will pay, take the original cost of the item, add the sales tax, and that gets you the total cost. Be careful when you're reading these. Notice how cost is mentioned both in the cost of the item and the total cost you pay. When you read them, it's very easy to mistake which thing you're dealing with, so make sure you're clear about what is the original price of the item, what is the tax, and what's the actual price you pay. Example: suppose that you buy a DVD player for $289 from A1 Electronics. The sales tax rate in your state is 6.5%. How much is the tax? What is the total cost of the DVD player? Read the problem. It asks for the sales tax on a DVD player and the total cost. Assign a variable to your unknown. Our unknown is actually two things, the sales tax and the total cost. However, we have to find the sales tax before we can find the total cost, so let n be the amount of tax. We can use a percent equation or a percent proportion. I don't care which one you use as long as you use one of them. In this case, we'll use the equation: tax rate times cost of item equals sales tax. The tax rate is 6.5%. Notice I converted it to the decimal 6.5 instead of the mixed number 6.5. Cost of item is $289, and then our unknown sales tax is our variable. Solve it by multiplying, and you get 18.785. Now to find the actual cost of our item with tax, we take 289. Notice we round the tax amount to the nearest cent, the hundredths place. Always round money answers to the hundredths place. Add this and we get $307.79. So the tax was $18.79 and the total cost was $307.79. You can check this several ways. One way is that 10% would be $28. 6.5 is less than 28, so your tax should be less than 28. Another way is to find 1%, which would be $289, and then multiply that by 6. Regardless, we're in the right ballpark. Another example. Miss Ortiz bought a $21,950 hybrid car. She paid an additional $1,646.25 in sales tax. What was the sales tax rate? In this case, we're given the original price of the item and the tax. We need to figure out the tax rate. So let P be the tax rate, that is our unknown. In this case, we will again use a percent equation. Tax rate times original cost of item equals sales tax. We don't know the tax rate. The cost of the item was $21,950, and the sales tax was $1,646.25. To solve this, divide both sides. This is some nasty arithmetic, so feel free to use a calculator. I will give you much easier numbers. P winds up being 0.075. Remember, when you're using the equation instead of the proportion, you have to convert your decimals into percents. Had you been using the percent proportion, then the answer you get would have been exactly 7.5. You don't need to convert. So be careful when you use both that you're careful. State the answer. The sales tax rate is 7.5%. Again, we can check this by playing around with 1% or playing around with 10% to make sure we're in the right ballpark. Example. Kirby took his wife to dinner at a nice restaurant to celebrate his promotion at work. Her promotion at work. The bill came to $77.85. How much should he leave for a 20% tip? Estimate, then find the exact amount. To estimate, round the $77.85 to about 80. 10% of 80 is 8. 20% would be double that. 8 times 8 is 16. So our tip should be around $16. To find the exact, multiply your tip amount, 20% times the whole. That will give you your tip exactly. We get $15.57, which is close to our estimate of $16. So he left $15.57 for a tip. Another example. Linda, Peggy, and Mary ordered similarly priced lunches and agreed to split the bill plus a 15% tip. How much should each woman pay if the bill is $21.63? If we estimate, $21.63 is about 20. 10% of 20 would be 2. Half of that would be 1. So 15%, which is 10% plus 5%, would be 2 plus 1, which is $3. Our tip is around $3, so our total bill is around $23. Divided by 3 is about 8. Notice 23 is close to 24, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. So each woman should pay around $8. To find the exact answer, find the exact tip, percent times whole. Percent is 15%. Our whole is the bill of $21.63. Our part is our unknown tip. Multiply them together and you get 3.2445. Since this is a money answer, again we'll round to the nearest hundredth or the nearest cent, $3.24. Add that to the original cost of the meal and we get $24.87. And if we divide that by 3, we get exactly $8.29. So our estimate of around $8 each was accurate. The next topic will be finding discounts and sale prices. Again, we're using a variation of our percent equation. Here, our percent will be the rate of discount. So basically, if something's 30% off, that would be your rate of discount, 30%. Or if it's 75% off, that's your rate of discount, 75%. The whole is our original price, and the part is the amount of discount. And then to find your actual sale price, you're going to subtract the original price minus the amount of discount to get your sale price. Be careful when you're reading these questions. Sometimes they might give you the sale price and the original price, and you need to figure out how much you saved. Or they might give you the sale price and the amount of discount, and you have to figure out the original price. So be very careful about which piece of information you're given and which you're trying to find. Example. The Oak Mill Furniture Store has an oak dining room set with an original price of $840 on sale at 15% off. Find the sale price. So if we read the problem, it asks the sale price on a dining room set. If we assign the variable, we're going to let n be the discount. Remember, before we can find the actual sale price, we need to find the discount and subtract it. So the first thing you have to find is the amount of discount. If we use an equation, the rate of discount times the original price is the amount of discount. It's 15% off, so that's where we get the 0.15. The original price was $840. Multiply that and we should get our amount of discount, which is $126. So we're saving $126. That doesn't mean you're paying $126. $126 is what you're saving. We're going to subtract that from the original price of $840. So $840 minus $126, and we get our sale price of $714. That's how much you'll pay. The dining room set will be $714. You can check this by playing around with 10% and estimating. 840 is about 800. 10% of that would be 80. 5% would be half of that, which is 40. So 15%, which is 10% plus 5%, would be 80 plus 40, which is around 120. That's close to our estimate, and so our answer seems reasonable. However, there's another way you could have done this problem. Since our ultimate goal is to find the sale price, we can kind of jump ahead and think, okay, if the dining room set is 15% off, then what you are paying, right, our original price minus discount, well, in terms of percents, the original price is 100%. If there was no sale going on, you'd pay 100% of the price. But in this case, we're taking off a certain amount, namely 15%. 100% minus 15% is 85%. So when something is 15% off, what you're actually paying in this case would be 100% minus 15% is 85%. So we can jump directly to the sale price by finding 85% of that 840. Again, this is an alternate option. So we'll let n be the sale price. Notice this is different. Before, in our first option, we were finding the discount. Now we're finding the sale price, which is going to be 85% of the 840. So n is 85% times 840, which converts to 0.85 times 840, which is 714. So we got our same answer of 714. The difference here is that we're basically doing the subtraction first, 100% minus 15%, whereas in the other option, we ended with our subtraction. So you're still doing the same operations, it's just the order you're doing them in. Okay, so again, we got the same answer, and again, you can check it the same way. Okay, our last topic is calculating simple interest and the total amount due on a loan. Interest is a fee paid or charge made for borrowing or lending money. So if you borrow money from someone, like a bank, you have to pay them back the money you borrowed plus interest. That's the fee they get. The amount of money borrowed is called the principal. The charge for interest is usually given as a percent, which we call the interest rate. And in some cases, interest is calculated on the original principal, and it is called simple interest. You will learn more interest formulas as you take more math or business classes. So there are several different interest formulas. Simple interest is the one we're going to learn in this class, but there's also compound interest, which is used in lots of cases as well. The formula for simple interest. Interest equals principal times rate times time. Time is always in years. So if you are given an equation or a problem where the time is 6 months, you have to convert that into years. And remember, there's 12 months in a year. And instead of using the words, we usually use I, P, R, and T. Interest equals principal times rate times time. And again, when you're using just variables, you can drop the multiplication symbols. I equals PRT means principal times rate times time. To find the actual amount due, you add your principal, which is what you borrowed, plus the interest, which was the fee that you had to pay. Example, find the simple interest and total amount due on a $2,000 loan at 6% for 1 year. So we're going to use our formula, I equals P times R times T. We don't know the interest, that's what we're trying to find. The principal is 2,000, the rate is 6%, which we use the decimal 0.06, and time in this case is 1 year. Do this arithmetic, and you get I is 120. So this is the interest you're going to pay. However, the total amount due is going to be your principal of $2,000 plus your interest of 120, which is 2,120. So you'll actually wind up paying more, 2,120. That's why it's always a bad idea to pay interest on things like credit cards, because you're paying more for the item than if you would have waited until you actually had the cash to buy it without borrowing the money. Another example. Find the simple interest and total amount due on a $4,200 loan at 8.5% interest for 3.5 years. Notice the word interest wasn't actually here, I added it. It's assumed when you see something like 8.5% that that's the interest rate. Again, we're going to have to convert 8.5 to 8.5 and then convert percent and then convert that to the decimal 0.085. Plug that into our formula. Our principal was 4,200. Our interest rate was 8.5, which we converted to the decimal. And again, notice the conversion here, 3.5 years. It has to be in years, so a half year is 0.5, 3.5. Do this arithmetic, and you get $1,249.50. Again, this is the interest. This is the fee you have to pay because you borrowed the money. So your total bill, your total amount due, is the principal of $4,200 plus your interest of $1,249.50. So you actually wind up paying $5,449.50. Find the simple interest and total amount due on $840 at 9.75% for 7 months. So 9.75, we have to convert that to 9.75% and then change that to the decimal 0.0975. 7 months is 7/12 of the year. Leave it as this fraction because you cannot simplify it, and if you tried to find the decimal, it would be a repeating decimal and you would get an inaccurate answer. Plug this information in. Here's our principal, here's our interest rate written as a decimal, and 7 months is 7/12 of a year. Multiply these two together and we get 81.9. Now when you're multiplying decimals with fractions, remember to write the decimal as a fraction. Go ahead and multiply numerator with numerator, top with top, and denominator with denominator, bottom with bottom, and then do your long division. The other option you could have done is to convert 81.9 to the fraction 819 over 10 and then multiplied. Regardless, you'd eventually have to do long division because we're talking about money, and money we always want decimals. So our interest, once we round, is $47.78. Again, you always round to the nearest cent. And then when you add that to the principal of $840, you get your overall total of $887.78. That concludes section 7.5. Your next step is to complete the worksheet for section 7.5, then check the key for that worksheet in D2L, complete the online homework for section 7.5 through my math lab, and lastly complete the chapter 7 quiz and submit that online.